Sifu, it's such a thrill to have you on Coffee Pods. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to this conversation. I've got to admit, researching you, I struggle to be able to succinctly describe to my audience everything that you are a master at and everything you're involved in. How do you describe yourself?
Oh, I'm just a student. At the end of the day, the word master is thrown around too easily. And yes, I have it from my martial arts and stuff like that. But I think that the most important thing is to just always be a student of life, a student of experiences, a student of discovering the cause of your own ignorance. And if we go on that path, we're always growing. And, as that saying goes, flowing water never grows stale. And that's been kind of my philosophy.
One of the things I found really interesting is you're a descendant of, am I right, an unbroken lineage of masters.
Yeah, it goes back 23 generations, 2,000 years. I can trace back the teachings.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty good. So I've been very lucky in finding the right teachers.
So talk to me, I gather from my research that you started your pathway in around 4 through your granddad and your father.
Yeah.
What was your start into martial arts like?
So I was about 6 years old. My dad traveled a lot, so he was a sea captain. And he wanted to make sure that I was able to defend myself, and so we immigrated to Toronto, Canada, from India when I was very young. And when I was 6 years old, we got put into karate because he wanted me to be able to defend myself and my mom because we were alone all by ourselves. So I don't know how much a 6-year-old could do to defend her mom, but that's when it started. So discipline and courage and confidence, and that was really the reason behind it. I learned so much more from it than punching and kicking, which I love. Okay, don't get me wrong.
There's a place for that, I'm sure.
There's a place for that. But really, you learn to win that war within, the enemy. Who are you really? How do you act and react in situations? And when you really get to know that conversation, then when you're placed in uncomfortable situations, you know how to adapt because you know who you are and you're grounded in the space. And you've been discovering it from the start.
So interesting. And I gather it was quite helpful on the early days in the playground in Canada.
Absolutely. I mean, always, right? So oftentimes people think martial arts is about fighting. It's actually about learning how not to fight. Because when you do know how to fight, when you are aware of what's happening around you, most of the time you can avoid the situation. So it's really the art of fighting without fighting. And it actually comes down to love. Because first of all, you got to love yourself, because it's your own health. You learn to protect yourself. Then from there, learn to protect your family. That's about love. And then again, it's about even protecting your opponent if you can, so they don't get harmed. So it's a really amazing thing where it helps develop your spirit.
I find it really interesting that love is at the art of martial arts. It's not something I would guess as an outsider and someone that hasn't had the experience of doing martial art before. What are sort of the other fundamental building blocks of martial arts in terms of what it teaches you and trains you in?
Well, the biggest thing that all of us deal with is discomfort. We don't like discomfort, right? And it's natural because you're uncomfortable. But the real secret of success in anything, whether it's martial arts or athletics or entrepreneurship or technology, is your ability to make yourself comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. That's a skill, that's a muscle that has to be developed. And then once you start to do that, the next piece is self-discovery. You got to know who you are. Who are you really? How do you act and react when everything's going crazy, your world is crumbling around you? Then the real version of you comes out. When everything's good, it's good. It's all good, right? And everybody's happy and high five. But when life gives you situations that you didn't expect, that are uncomfortable, can you make yourself happy in that situation to get out of that situation? Because that's the only way out. Otherwise, that negative voice starts up in your head. And that's the thing in martial arts. We learn to kill that voice, to shut it down and then replace it with something else, which is positive. And then from there, we kick into the no mind, which is the most beautiful state of existence, the flow state. When you're operating in the flow state, like right now, we're both here sitting and talking and connecting. We're right here, right now. It's a beautiful thing, right? When I'm talking to my son, talking to my wife, same thing. But I learned it through martial arts because when I was very young, about 13 years old, I lost my hair to alopecia areata. So I was 13 years old, and then I went inside. I went inside and is everybody looking at me, all this, and starting analyzing things. Then I was an engineer once upon a time in my life. Again, very analytical, so up in my head thinking all the time. So it's very hard to get out of that. And you're watching a movie in your mind of what's about to happen or obsessed about something that's already happened. And you're not right here, right now, where life happens. And through martial arts and studying my opponent, being able to connect to my opponent, that attribute wore off in my life. I'm like, wait a sec. I need to use these same skills in my life, and it just kind of transferred that way. So now I have a wonderful relationship with the people I love, my students. I can connect to people like yourself, and then we have a wonderful conversation. And you're not up in your mind wondering, oh man, am I saying the right thing? I hope I'm impressing the audience, things of that nature, which are natural fears that come up for all of us.
So is it purely, because I think it's so relevant, the stuff you're talking about, when we're talking about where the future's going, that importance of being able to deal with uncertainty and be comfortable being uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, that's a core message. That piece around knowing yourself, I think, is absolutely central to that too. In a world where increasingly, you've got to navigate your own path. It's more fluid than it's ever been. In terms of people practically taking some of these lessons on and going, okay, if I wanted to start this journey tomorrow, what does it look like? Is it a case of, just practice over and over again, start putting myself in some of those uncomfortable situations? How do I begin on these journeys?
Absolutely. So first thing we start with is fear. So let's just get down what fear is, right? So there's two kinds of fear. There's real fear, and then there's projected fear. So real fear is between life and death. Real fear is a tiger chasing you, right? Projected fear, which is the fear that most of us deal with, because we live very comfortable lives nowadays, let's be honest, is the fear of failure. It's the fear of what other people think. It's the fear of not being good enough. Those are the real fears that most of us are dealing with. So that's the first place to start off, is what is the enemy that's within? That's stopping us, that leads to the stress, the anxiety, the tension, the obsessive thinking, and making your mind not at ease. So it's that fear. So once we have to start to understand who we are and what are our real fears, are they even real? Are they even real? Because that's not a real fear. To worry about what somebody else thinks, it's not a real fear. Like public speaking, it's like the biggest fear for everybody. It doesn't even make any sense. If we think about it, it doesn't make any sense. But the reason it's a fear is because people are afraid of being judged. So that goes back to knowing who you are. So you have to take time to discover it. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? How have you dealt with opportunities and threats in the past? We have data points that we've gone through in our life. We just have to research our experiences. When we do that, we start to see, oh man, I was great here. This is the awesome stuff I said to myself here. And oh man, when I was losing, my mind was in here saying, oh, why is this happening to me? I don't want to be in this. What is the negative talk? And then we start to learn how to, the skill is to take the positive talk, the good things we say to ourselves when we're winning, and be able to program our mind to say that when things are not good. And we got to get rid of that enemy within, that voice that tells us what we can and we can't do. And the way this is trained is by attention and awareness. We have to have attention and awareness of ourselves in the moment and be able to catch ourselves when we go in the mind to think. So meditation, for example. Everybody's tried meditation. So every time I do a presentation, I always say, how many people in the audience have tried meditation? Everybody puts their hands up. Then I say, how many people are successful?
How many achieved enlightenment?
How many people are successful? And the percentage is like 2%, right?
Yeah.
So meditation is like this unicorn that nobody ever sees. But the idea really is that it's about constantly recalibrating yourself back into the moment. It's not staying in the moment, because how can you go and live in this moment if we're used to obsessively thinking thousands of thoughts? You can't go from 1,000 to 0. So the expectations are incorrect. So before you even start any practice or start to develop this, you have to have the correct expectation. The correct expectation is, hey, I know that thoughts are going to come into my mind. Because when most people go to meditate, they say, I'm going to sit down and think of nothing. But that's actually thinking of something, and that's over. But if we accept that thoughts are going to come, and you go back to watching yourself breathing, that's a lot easier to do. Just watch the breath come in and out. And the thought comes, no problem. But now is the fight. The fight is the thought comes, let it happen, go back to your breathing. And then that's really it. So people at home can start very simply, inhale and exhale. Just become aware of the inhale and become aware of the exhale. And then thoughts will come. Why am I doing this? Oh my God, I got to pay the bills. I got to pick up the kids. Or I have a presentation due. That's the enemy. So now the fight starts. So think of it as a fight. It's a mind boxing match with yourself. Because then slowly, step by step, what ends up happening is we start to train the mind to have attention and awareness. And it starts to become aware of when we're thinking. And as it starts to become aware of when we're thinking, it brings us back into the moment. And now the moment might be a couple seconds, 3 seconds, a few minutes before the next thought comes. But you're present. Because the moment you realize that you're thinking, you become present for that next instant. You've won.
I like that. It's not defeat. It's actually a moment of, of awareness.
You won.
Yeah.
You won. High five. You won. Now you just got to catch the next one. And then basically start to string together these moments of presence, one breath at one moment at a time, and then it starts to build. It starts to build. And then what's awesome is that your mind is an amazing tool. It's a muscle, really. You got to think of it that way. It then learns how to catch it on its own. So then things start, nervous situations or uncomfortable situations. That's life, man. That's life at the end of the day. Because there's never anything that's going to be easy. There's, like, as Rocky Balboa says, life ain't all sunshine and rainbows, right?
Good impersonation, I like that.
It just isn't, right? And Mike Tyson, I love the saying he says, right? Everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face, right? So it's like everybody's got this idea, but the thing is that, hey, discomfort is what we have to prepare for. But we can do it one breath at a time. But everybody gets defeated because they have this grandiose idea because they need to be like a monk and a yogi and achieve enlightenment the first time they sit down. That's not even the right galactic stratosphere that we're trying to talk about, right? At the end of the day, the idea is, hey, one breath, one thought at a time, continuously centering yourself back into the moment. You can even do this by putting on some music you love. Put on some music you love and just actually listen to it and let it connect to you. Love happens in the moment. We can't love somebody for not in the moment. Grace, gratitude, they happen in the moment. So all these things that you could do to bring yourself into the moment, that's what we want to try to find those opportunities to do that. And then the first step is that, so stillness and stillness. You're doing it by yourself. In the sense, you're by yourself, you're still, you're breathing, you're listening to some music, but watching your breath in and out. Something that you can say to yourself is, I'm aware that I'm breathing in. I'm aware that I'm breathing out. So I'm giving you a thought. So you have a thought that you chose as opposed to the million random thoughts that are going to come. So it's better to focus on one thing than the million random things. So that'll start to get you insight.
I love how you made that so practical too, because I feel sometimes when we talk about this sort of stuff, like focus on the breath and think of nothing, it doesn't give people a path that ultimately allows them to be successful. That idea of going, I have a thought, and being able to bring your focus there, I think is actually really useful.
It's very powerful. You can light a candle. This is a great exercise. You can light a candle and just look at the candle. Let that be the flame, the fire that's inside you. And just focus on that. How long can you focus on that until the next thought comes? And when the next thought comes, it's okay. But because that's the match. That's why I don't like meditation as much.
Yeah, I get that.
Because the connotation of it is failure.
Yeah.
I like mind boxing. You're in a match with the preconditioned version of yourself that is built upon all the stories you've told yourself, the stories everybody else has told you. And you're much greater than that.
I wanted to talk about the application of this. One of the things I saw one of your clients said was the skill that you teach provides an opportunity for increased stamina when it's needed most and when a situation demands zero margin of error. And that was one of the elite special forces groups that you work with. Talk to us a little bit about the application of these ideas into those incredible high-intensity, zero margin for error situations. How does it translate?
It's about conservation of energy. Fear, stress, and anxiety hit you, whatever is causing this life and death situation or at home, family situation. It's just a derivative of stress. It's exactly the same thing. But what happens is that what stress does is it gives us fear is a psychological and physiological response that comes with it. Gets you restricted, gets you to come inside, and everything tightens up. So when everything starts to tighten up, it starts to drain your energy. Now you're in a state of energy drain. So it's like you're a boat and you're rowing across and you've got a hole, but your mission is to row across. But you're constantly plugging the hole or bailing out the water. So now you're your own worst enemy, draining your own energy. So you could be the greatest conditioned athlete. So I've taken triathletes, people who've done Ironman triathlons. So you could say they're the most conditioned athletes that you could find, right? You agree with me? But the moment that I bring them in to do a knife sparring session, because of the tension of that,
I bet.
The greatest cardio conditioned machines on the planet can't last but a few moments, right? And then you take some uncle who's been 60-year-old man that drinks all the time, but he's able to calm himself down, can last longer than a triathlete. How's that possible? It's possible because he doesn't care. He's relaxed. He's in the moment. That's some of the masters that I know that I've dealt with before. I mean, one of them, I call him the Silver Samurai. He was one of my teachers, one of the first guys I had an encounter with, one of those magical encounters. You face this master, and then he just whoops your butt. But he's 70 years old, overweight, and has a limp, right? And you're in your mid-20s at the peak of your performance. You're like, what the hell just happened here, right? And because they just don't care, and they don't. The moment doesn't get them taxed. So when I'm dealing with like Navy SEALs, Secret Service, or operators like that, or athletes, the moment. So there's a saying that says that when stress hits you, you only have 10% of your capabilities actually available. Wow. So you fall to that percentage. So instead of training, bigger, stronger, faster, that idea, and just increasing your ability and only accessing 10%, my question is, how do we access more and train less of that idea? When we can start to do that, we get a balance. Now, I'm not saying don't train and work out and be strong and healthy. That's important because the body's the vehicle. But the mind is the engine. The mind is the general. We say the mind is the engine, the mind is the general, and the body and emotions are the battlefield. The breath is the strategy, and the chi and your energy are your soldiers. And the fighting spirit, it uplifts. Because what's your spirit? You're either in high spirits or low spirits. And the definition of spirit, I'll make it very easy for you. You know, because oftentimes people have the spirit, some like hippie stuff, right? Yeah. But the spirit is really the thoughts of the mind and the feelings of the heart. So if you're constantly going in your mind, your spirit can't be high. If you're feeling down, sad, hurt, anger, shame, depression, your heart is going to be low. So the spirit really of how you're feeling is the combination of the thoughts of your mind, the positive things you say to yourself, or the state of no mind, the ultimate state, the flow state. And then from there, the next part is the feelings of the heart. Are you balanced with your emotions? And when you are, then you remember, what do we say? We uplift the spirit. That's it. We want to be in a state of uplifting the spirit. Uplift our own spirit and everybody around us. But it's got to start with yourself first. You got to put your oxygen mask on before you, right? Before anybody else.
Absolutely.
So
it's interesting because it challenges you on what we've traditionally been taught about how to train, right? You know, you go in, you work hard, you put your body under stress, you put yourself in a situation of stress. The more that you do that repeatedly, the better we're supposedly going to get.
Yes.
Whereas that's a much more sophisticated approach going, no, you can't just assume that way of doing things is going to make you more capable because you'll just be accessing the same 10% over and over again. Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, and this point that I'm sharing with you is 1,000 years old. Everything I've just said to you has been passed down to me unbroken. Because then back in the day when you were a warrior, you were a Shaolin monk, or you were a samurai, I mean, life and death was on the line every day. Every day you walked out. So they actually had to find out the ultimate human capability that you could have, the ultimate potential, and how do you train it? That's why you always hear those ancient traditions of Zen and of being in the moment. And everybody talks about it. Even Yoda, right? Yoda talks about it all the time. Is the force within you? I mean, but it's based on the Shaolin monks. Yeah. A lot of people may not know that George Lucas actually studied them and their philosophy and put the force in the way in there for the Jedi. But that's real at the end of the day. But it's about you training it and understanding your own limitations. One of the greatest things martial arts has taught me is to discover the cause of my own ignorance.
I like that.
It's the biggest thing. I'm like, man, I'm my biggest enemy. And the moment you think you know something, you've stopped growing. That's when the whole journey stops. So just be this student that's always open and ready to go and ready to learn and learn from everybody. I learn from my students every day. I learn from interactions. I learn from watching you on stage. I was like, man, she's asked the best questions. When you were interviewing Sir Richard Branson yesterday, I was like, I just watched how you magically crafted the energy up and down of that interview. I was like, wow, look at that. I was talking to Eric about that. And that's what I was saying to him. She's a master of what she does.
Thank you.
No, it was fantastic. And when he said you were going to be interviewing me, I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. It's going to be fun. But that's the thing. Everything's an opportunity always to learn, right? Otherwise, what's the point? Really, what's the point? Right? If there's a limit that you're going to reach, why do something?
Yeah. I love that you picked up on that point earlier that some of the stuff you're talking about, some people have the perception or the bias that's a little bit hippie, a little bit left of center, a little bit Eastern maybe.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love is that you've worked in Fortune 500 companies, you consult to some of the leading firms in the world, you're working with Navy SEALs and SWAT teams, and I'm interested in the acceptance of these ideas and how you see them being applied in traditional leadership and organisations. Are we seeing a marrying of kind of Because I would say a lot of probably where business has been today has denied a lot of the things that you're talking about. And I hope that we're at a point of evolution in the way that we think individually and collectively, where we're starting to go, actually, we've got to be harnessing more of the whole self. We've got to be thinking more holistically, more broadly, more laterally about the way that we are harnessing ourselves and we're harnessing people. But I'm really interested in that period of time that you spent in Silicon Valley, the work that you do with leading companies now, and how what you're talking about is resonating.
So the greatest leaders do that anyways. The greatest leaders lead by connection and communication. And the number one thing that they do is they listen and watch. They listen. So their skills of observation are watching. So whether we're talking about martial arts, hunting, or leadership, it's your ability to be in the moment and watch and listen and not just speak. And that's the biggest difference. And use empathy and use the ability to connect. I believe in relationship-based leadership. So whether we're talking about elite military, or we're talking about elite Silicon Valley companies, or even folks like Sir Richard Branson, I will guarantee you, across the board, all of them come from that perspective of building a relationship where they truly understand the people that they're working with, what drives them, what motivates them. And then they lead them to perform on their own to the best. They lead them like a water. They're leading them to find and discover the best version of who they are and empower them to be leaders themselves. Now, we could call it Eastern philosophy or Western psychology. Those are just labels. But at the end of the day, that's performance. Right? That's performance where it comes down to. So I think sometimes where like you said, the barrier to the introduction happens because it's misunderstood. It's misunderstood. It's almost like where people are like, oh, just breathe and you can do amazing things. True, but how? Yeah. Right?
A little bit more to it.
A little bit more to it, right? So just like when I said meditation, how many people try it? How many fail? Even your audience right now, asking the people listening, how many of you tried it and how many of you failed? I'm with you because I'm the guy that failed, okay? That's why I wrote a book called Mind Boxing, right? Because the war is within. But I think that the most important thing is what motivates people to accept this is that there's a greater motivator, and that's pain. The greatest motivator for change is pain and discomfort. When you can describe the problem better than the person experiencing the problem, they're going to listen to what you have to say for the solution.
I like that. There's a lot of truth in that, isn't there? And one of the things I'm intrigued by, I know you've pursued martial arts, and obviously your family is steeped in tradition, unbelievable generational history. But what was the moment or the insight, that tipping point where you went, oh my gosh, this is my vocation. This has such significance and impact that I need to spread this as far and wide throughout the world as I can. What happened?
A couple tipping points. Number one, when I was graduating from the University of California, I did my computer and electrical engineering degree there. You know, I was just like everybody else in Silicon Valley, dot-com boom days, right? It was like, I'm going to get an engineering degree. I'm going to get a sports car. I'm going to buy my house. I'm going to have my stock options. And I'm going to become a millionaire. And that was my goal, right? And then, boy, I graduated and it hit me in the face of what that really meant. That it meant that this is not actually what I thought it was about. And all the money in the world can't really actually buy your happiness. So there was that part. And the next piece was on graduation. We all went for a bonfire. And this was in San Francisco Ocean Beach. And myself and some friends of ours, we came late. And it was about an hour and a half from our school, because my school was Davis campus of University of California. It was about an hour away, hour and a half away. So we came late. And long story short, what do you do to celebrate? So here's another lesson for the audience. Bad things happen to you. You're having a good time when you least expect it.
be alert when that's happening.
Be alert at that time.
Okay,
Don't
good.
let your guard down. Because there's such thing as being too happy.
Yep.
Because when you're happy, your energy's all over the place. You're celebrating. And you don't see 25 gangsters approaching out of the darkness.
Oh, wow.
Right? You don't see them. So we pulled over. The bonfire was 100 yards away. And here, let's have a couple beers, cheers. And literally, like a movie out of the darkness, came 25 local gangsters. That was their turf.
Wow.
They were looking for someone.
Yeah. My
My roommate was standing to the left of me, and they thought that he was that someone. And within an instant, boom, he was taken into the middle. They were swinging 2x4s at us. I went to block one. I broke my elbow. You're running around, and then that true moment of fight or flight happens where you have to make the decision, do I run or do I stay? And that was my roommate, my best friend. And I said, I'm going to stay. But that was no hero because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. It looked like, it didn't look like
many people
movies.
would. 25 gangsters descending on them.
And so I'm just running around, and it looked like people playing football, and they're chasing me around the parking lot, right? And divine intervention, the two guys they were looking for happened to walk by. And they recognized that. And as they did that, they jumped on those guys. I dragged my roommate out of there. And I remember I had also been hit on the head. I came up to look at the license plate or something. Then somebody had called the police. So up at the top of the hill, you can see the sirens of the cops coming down. They're still a couple miles away, but you can see it happening. And I remember it was like slow motion. Everything was happening in slow motion. That's the first time I experienced the present moment. It was the Matrix. Everything slowed down. Yeah. I just didn't know what to do in that situation. And I remember I went to look at the license plate, and then the driver stepped out. I saw him reach into his pants. He was wearing gray sweatpants. Something told me to turn around and run, and I hear 2 shots, pop, pop. And that was the day that changed my life. Wow. It completely transformed my life because first, I was angry. And I was pissed off. I've been doing martial arts my whole life. Didn't know what to do. That was like outside the dojo. This was like the real thing. So part of your ego, part of who you think you are, everything, you know what I mean? It's confronting. And so then I said, man, but I was fueled with so much anger. So I'll be honest, I was an angry person then. I was like, I want to be the baddest man on the planet. That was it. I was like, this is never going to happen to me again. I would have dreams of hunting these guys down like a Charles Bronson movie. Yeah, you know, like a Rambo or something like that. But that consumed me. And then I went on a quest to learn from the best masters that I could find all over the world. And then I finally found a master that was the trainer of the Navy SEALs, like the original one when they were still called the Death Team. And then at the same time, I found a Kung Fu master. So I had read about this thing called the Death Touch. This is how messed up I was. I was like, I'm going to learn how to do the Death Touch to people, right? Like, I know it sounds like something out of Kill Bill, but that's what was going on in my mind. And I was like, but then who's actually going to teach me that? They're going to think this guy's nuts. So I started to get books on the subject, and I noticed everything's about Chinese medicine, the meridians and all that. I was like, I'll just enroll in medical Qigong class, of course. And so I enrolled in a 4-year program. Wow. And a complete 4-year program, which was medical Qigong, was meant to heal people. But I was taking it because I wanted to harm people, because I was so angry. And over time, my master, in the process, healed me. So I went from the death touch to the healing hand. I was like, wait a sec, there's so much more to this. I was able to forgive those attackers. I was able to let it go. And when I was able to let that go, I saw, wow, how many things is it that we all actually hold on to? And I started to realize this is my path. And then my idea of life, what is it? What was the purpose of it? Why is it the sports car? I was going to say, how did
it change your goals, you know, the mansion and the sports car?
That process did. You know, I still got the sports car. I got the house. You got to keep
some goals, right?
But and there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
that's the other thing. You can have your Ferrari and love it too, you know. But the thing about it is that it really comes down to why. What is the purpose here, and who are you? Then the question. That's when I started asking myself the question: who am I really? Why am I here really? What was the purpose? Why did I survive that event? And then the next piece of it was I was really good at it. It was very easy. Engineering, I had to really try. I was not the best engineer, okay? Yep. I was resourceful. I was good at making friends with the other engineers.
Yeah, right? Getting copies of the notes.
Yeah, getting copies of the notes, taking guys out for some beers, you know. I was able to do that. And I was very successful at that because I guess, you know, sometimes with engineers, they have to understand the problem so much to solve it. I didn't care about understanding. I only cared about the solutions. The companies loved me. They're like, hey, man, this guy just gets to the solution as fast as possible. But engineering was a big part of my mindset of thinking and problem solving. So it helped me a lot. But I realized I was very natural, and I loved teaching. And I loved how it made me feel when somebody else was able to do something successful. I said, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of cars, there's no amount of superficial things that could replace the smile on somebody else's face, to give them the gift of courage, confidence, and clarity.
I get that.
You know, that just is the most beautiful feeling on earth. And then that leads me to serving, because now I'm serving. If I'm serving somebody else, I'm serving my own spirit too, and the universe on my side. There's no better feeling. You can't buy that feeling. When people come up to you, man, you changed my life. It's goosebumps. Thinking about it gives me goosebumps. And that's the most wonderful part about it. You get to learn to love and serve and teach other people to do that, especially with regards to people who've been abused, people who've been battered, people who are the weak. Help the weak stand up and become stronger. That made me feel so good. So I guess it could be selfish, I guess. But it made me really feel good to help people.
Yeah.
And that feeling was far beyond my own desires for superficial things. And things don't matter to me. But that doesn't mean I can't. Now I can enjoy them.
Sure.
So it's a beautiful thing where you can enjoy it, but it doesn't really define you.
Yeah.
Right? That was a big difference. Before, like, oh yeah, look at me, man. Rolling down in my car. Yeah, that's my ride over here, right? But now it's like I enjoy rolling in that car because of the feeling it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Right? Because it doesn't define me. If I didn't have it, don't have it. It doesn't matter.
You touched on a couple of times the incredible masters you've had the opportunity to learn from. I know this is probably a ridiculously hard question, but is there a particular piece of advice or wisdom that was passed on that stands out for you most amongst it all?
To operate with 100% impeccability. Be impeccable in your thoughts, your actions, and your words. Always be impeccable. The impeccability has to be the sharpness of your soul, your spirit, who you are. That's where it's rooted. And in impeccability, the biggest part of impeccability is you have to be impeccable with managing your own energy. Because if I'm walking around in a state of energy drain, I cannot be here, right now. Because your energy, how you feel physically, mentally, and emotionally, is going to impact how you perceive what's happening. So it's kind of like, he's driving in some fog. There's a beautiful highway, Pacific 1 highway in California, which is one of the most beautiful drives in the world. But it's very foggy. So it's so foggy you can just see what's in front of you. But when the fog clears, there's a beautiful ocean, there's redwood trees, you're in the most amazing place. But that fog is the perception, the fog of war we call it. So if your energy is drained, you only see tunnel vision what's in front of you. You can't even see the tip of your own nose. But when your energy is high, you don't perceive, you actually see what's really there. And when you see what's there, you can prioritize what it is you want to do. And based on those priorities, you can make decisions. So it's a simple formula that I came up with after that teaching. It's called EPPD. Your energy impacts your perception. That impacts how you prioritize things. And that impacts the decisions that you make. And then that's what you're going to act on.
And so what do you consciously do, be it day to day, week to week, from that energy management standpoint? How do you make sure that you're in the optimal energy state for what you need to do?
Every day. It's a process every day. So there's something I call arrive before you leave. That's what I do every morning, and it's something I teach elite executives. So if you guys would like, I could share that with you.
Yeah, I'd love that.
It's a simple process, okay? Victory or defeat is determined before you leave your house. Every day, because the state of mind you're in before you walk out that door is going to determine how you're going to handle things that come up. So are you version A, 2.0, or version B? Which one is it? So the option is, the worst option B, wake up just in time, slam some coffee, and start to rush. Rushing. Fast. Meeting. The other option, wake up earlier, which takes discipline, which is another muscle that has to be trained. Wake up earlier and start your day off with success with the following routine. Number one, as soon as you wake up, drink water. Drink a lot of water because your body's in a state of dehydration. Most of us live in dehydrated state. That's the reason why, everybody has that 2 p.m. munchies, or if they go for the coffee. The reason is you're not really hungry. You just ate lunch 2 hours ago. It's you're dehydrated, and your body doesn't know how to adjust. So start by drinking water. So I drink about 40 ounces of water right when I wake up, which is about 2 liters, or 1.5 liters to 2 liters.
Yeah, wow.
Build yourself up to that. In the beginning, you're going to go to the bathroom
Start
quite a
small.
bit.
Yeah.
You got to go to the bathroom, but drink a lot, at least 3 glasses of water right when you wake up. After you do that, do some mindfulness practice. I call it mind boxing, where you just focus on centering yourself into the moment by focusing on your breath, watching the inhale, watching the exhale. That's the next piece. Right after that, break a sweat. Break a sweat. The body is the temple. The body is the vehicle. It can't be ignored. And I'm not talking about go to the gym and work out, because that's actually not possible for most people. It's too hard to spend an hour and a half to go to the gym, then come back, get ready, and do it, and they can't sustain it. I say break a sweat. In 10 minutes, you can break a sweat right there in your living room. Just do some burpees.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Do burpees for 10 minutes. You're going to break a sweat.
It's a great leveler. Yes.
There you go. Right? And everybody knows a burpee. If you don't know a burpee, look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
Just do a burpee for 10 minutes. Set a timer for 10 minutes to do that. You will break a sweat, because the purpose is to break a sweat. Because when we break a sweat, we have a physiological change that happens. The endorphins, epinephrine, norepinephrine, serotonin, they start to get released in your body and starts to make you feel good. Now, the next step right after that is to go take a cold shower.
Right, now I've heard about this, and a lot of people will probably bristle at hearing that, going, are you serious? I've got to get in a cold shower. I've read a lot. There's a lot of theory behind this in terms of what it does to your circulation.
Circulation, your immune system, waking you up. Right. Now, I hate cold showers.
I don't think many people could enjoy them, surely.
I hate them, and I do this every day, and I hate them. But it's the first victory over myself. I start the day off winning.
I get it, yeah.
It's the first victory. Now, I'll give you an easy way to do the cold shower.
Okay.
You can't just jump in there and go to the cold shower. You're like, you're going to jump out. Start with warm shower. In the first week, 30 seconds of cold. And then warm again. Week number 2, warm shower, 30 seconds of cold, warm, one more, 30 seconds of cold, warm. It's easy to do. You can handle that. Week 3, cold, warm shower, 1 minute of cold, warm, 1 minute of cold. Week 2, 2 minutes of cold.
I love it. I'm just thinking, coffee potters, those listening, we've got a shower challenge now, so it's on. You've been given the step-by-step.
You got a step-by-step to do it.
You got to have a go.
You got to have it going. You just got to do it step by step. First 30 seconds, you're going to be like, oh my God. But you're going to feel so good after. And just breathe. If you notice, once that starts happening, you'll go to your chest and start to get tense. And you just got to let it go. And when you let it go, it's a magical thing that happens in that shower. It's magical.
I want to get back to what you started talking about in our conversation, which was getting comfortable being uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
Pushing through discomfort.
That's it. And we start every day with it. So you start already with a victory over yourself. So then later, when you're going to reach for that extra piece of cake, right? When you're going to pound that extra cup of coffee or whatever your vice may be, you're going to stop it because you can do it. But it's something that has to be trained. Now, after you have that cold shower, then you're going to have something healthy to eat. Now, by healthy, there's many diets and stuff like that. I don't prescribe to that. I prescribe to a method. And in the morning, you don't want to have carbohydrates. So bread, grains, you don't want to have them in the morning because it increases your insulin level. When it increases your insulin level, it increases inflammation. And as soon as you have that in the beginning of the morning, you're going to crave it all day long. And then your mind is going to get bogged down. Carbohydrates bring you down and slow you down. It's very important to understand. So as breakfast, have some protein and have some fat. Have fat. That'll keep you away from sweets later. And for the vegetarians out there, you can have lentils. And put some MCT oil in there. But the ultimate breakfast is a boiled egg. That's nature's equivalent of protein and fat. So have a few boiled eggs. So start by fueling yourself properly. Mm-hmm. Then right after that, learn something new. Something new that has nothing to do with your work, that has nothing to do with anything other than the thing that you want to learn about. Why is it that we all have something that we want to learn about? I'm sure you've got something that you're interested in.
Continuously.
Right? Yeah. There's just something. It's just random. And where did it pop into your head? For me, one time it was about navigating the stars. Right? Because I heard about the ancient Hawaiians. And I was just interested in it. It's like, well, why am I interested in it? Instead of questioning why you're interested in it, be like, you're interested in it. So read about it. It might be gardening. It might be origami. Who knows? Whatever it is that you're interested in, just read. And I'm talking 10 minutes. I'm not talking sit there forever, 10, 15 minutes. What that does is it creates the creative muscle to continue to keep growing. When we're kids, we're always learning something new. But then as soon as we leave that, we stop learning how to learn. And the wiring gets changed. Finally, last but not least, 10 breaths of gratitude. What are you grateful for? What are all the blessings that you have in your life? Just sit there in those 10 breaths and just let it fuel you up. Let it make you feel amazing. This golden light inside you. Your family, your health, your career, the food you have, the shelter over your house, the opportunities, the strength. You know, I always say, don't pray for an easy life. Pray for the strength to endure the difficult one.
Wow, that's a great one. I'm going to write that down when I get out of here and make sure I put that somewhere I'm looking at continuously, because I think that's a great mantra to have.
Yeah.
Sifu, I'm so grateful for your time, and you've been so
you.
generous with sharing. And I know that this is going to be one where we've got a lot of people taking on and applying, and be it the breathing, taking on the shower challenge, thinking about how they shift their morning routine. And I look forward to watching how that ripples out. The final question I wanted to ask you is, for those listening, if you could leave them with a single call to action, what would you encourage them to do?
Honestly express yourself. Learn to honestly be you and express yourself, regardless of what anybody else thinks. Always go out and serve and help. Do your best, but at the same time, don't care about a single thing anybody thinks about you. That is the yin-yang. Give it your all. Express yourself. Who are you truly? Don't be afraid of what other people think. Don't be afraid of failure. Don't be afraid of not being good enough. Those aren't real fears. You're just limiting yourself. So to be fearless, or to fear less, you will be limitless.
What a great note to finish on. Sifu, thank you so much for your time. I feel like I've had a philosophy lesson, I've had an introduction into martial arts, and certainly I've come away with a number of things that I'm personally going to change in my own habits and ways of being, because I think there's so much you've shared where I go, wow, to harness the presence, the energy that you've got, the optimism, you're truly someone that it's quite remarkable to be in the presence of and in conversation with. You're so centered and grounded and here, and I thank you for the privilege of that.
Thank you so much for your time, and thank you to the audience for listening. And if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out.
In what way can people find you?
My website is mindboxing.com, and you can find how to reach out to me there. I've got a new book coming out, and look forward to maybe coming back on again with you next time.
Thanks so much.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. That was great.
Awesome. I hope you
enjoyed.
enjoyed.
Thank you so much. I loved it.
Great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I could talk to you for hours.